And because my life is my life, I can't wear eye makeup because I cry.
Welcome to 42, Two Souls, One Journey, a raw and unedited look into our lives as humans, based on the 21 grams experiment by Dr. Duncan MacDougall, who concluded that the human soul weighs 21 grams. On this podcast, we will explore that no matter what our lives look like on paper, our souls journey similarly. In this episode, we're speaking with a mover, a shaker, an innovator. She was all about startups before startups even became a thing. She loves 200%. She moves at 300%. She shows up for you at 1,000%. This date has been 16 years in the making. I've missed my friend Rishma. I'm so excited to come back to this. I could not have imagined my 20s without this person. My drag career started after seeing her in her wedding because I was like, contour? What? And I think Kim Kardashian would have had something to learn from her before she got popular because that wedding makeup was epic. I'm so excited for this reunion / date. Welcome, Rishma Govani. How are you? Where are you? You're frozen.
Hello?
Hello. I mean, you're frozen at a really great space if that's the... Oh, there we go.
I was like, did you see me? I was like,
Well, first of all, welcome, and thank you for being so flexible with this weekend, because I feel like I wanted to do it in this new space.
Congrats. Congrats.
Thank you. Well, we're also only here for a couple hours because the permits aren't valid, and we have to move into another space right away. And I've been like, I know.
Stressful. Winnipeg. It's not like you're in Afghanistan and gotta move before they come.
Oh my god, Rish, I can't even tell you how ridiculous this is. But the best part about this is like chatting with you and preparing for this, I'm like, oh, I just have to do the Govani method. It's like, pack what you need. You don't wear more than 4 clothes anyways. Like take the things you love, pack the things you need, and get out.
Purpose.
Pack with purpose. Oh my god.
Just walk it. That's me, not Zara. Zara needs to do it a lot together, and she's absolutely a hustler. The amount of places I've walked into that I shouldn't be in. No one said a word. No one said a word.
I mean, I feel like you're forced to be different. Like you're forced. They can't argue with you. Like you just come in. You're like, by the way, like you just come in so quickly.
Just going quick. We belong. Who are we not to belong?
Oh my god.
VIPs. Like we're born VIPs.
Yeah.
Go.
Oh my god, that's so true. Okay, let's start this. Okay, so I love that we're born VIPs. That's such a... Is that something that you've always thought, or is that something that came to you, okay, as you got older?
I don't think I was ever shy.
Yeah.
So if I had to go get the chalk from the classroom next door in grade school, I was going to walk with purpose, I think, and say, Mrs. Sawitsky, like, I need that, or go get it. Don't interrupt her class. Go behind her and pick up the chalk. This is funny. This is actually, I've never thought about it this way. But, so is that walking with purpose or being respectful of someone's space and time and almost like hiding because you want to like be while you're get in and get out kind of thing. And then, yeah, probably more insecurities as I was growing up. But I think I'm pretty confident in terms of walking into a place that I may not be invited to or on a list.
Yeah.
Knowing that it's not as hard as it seems. Like people are so scared. It's actually not,
Yeah, I feel like that should be your motto in life. Like people make such a big deal out of things that you have a way of just summarizing it and moving forward with. I love that. So first of all, let's follow a format because we're fully going to go off format. I can tell. And so the format is
what dance? Want to be the first one?
DJ Duffy Volley remix. Go. Get out of there, Rishma Govani. I'm the new partner.
Exactly.
Okay, let's.
Oh my God.
I mean, that's one of my questions to come to. So, okay, let's format back. Okay, so do you remember the first time we met? So the first time our souls connected.
So interestingly enough, I've been listening to your podcast, and I know that this is a question, and I didn't even think that you would ask me it. And just like we described, I was going to dive in. There's no prep. Go with the flow. Shafik. 16 years later, just so whoever's audience knows, I don't know Shafik. The Shafik without hair.
Oh my God! Right.
I know Shafik with hair.
Yeah.
Like that's my buddy, and so like that's how much time has gone by. Where like if you, I don't know you. I know you with you have the most beautiful eyes and eyebrows, so that's legit. And what also hasn't changed about you is I feel like there's a laugh stuck in you. Like you need to laugh for 15 minutes straight and get it out. It is just like here, 2 seconds worth is not doing it justice. Like you need to to go on the ground and just laugh.
Yeah.
There's so many things that I think you and I would find and would and could find funny that other people wouldn't.
Yeah.
Or it's inappropriate, or it's not that funny. We find it funny and could just laugh for hours.
Yeah. You know, it's so funny. Like I think so. I thought of this question as well. I was like, when was the first time I met you? I don't remember the first time I met you, but I don't remember a day that you weren't part of my life. Like I think the moment we met, our souls were like done. We know who we are. We're exactly the same person. We love 100%. Everything comes in. We come in at full force. You were just maybe a year or two ahead of me, so you had a bit more like I got some great learnings from you. But my whole 20s, I look back and I'm like, I don't remember you not being part of my life in my 20s.
I don't remember you from Willowdale, JK. I don't like some of your stories with other carpets. I don't, because I was probably a few years or 2 years ahead of you.
Yeah.
I maybe had moved on. I was attending less or university. When did you move to Canada?
87.
Okay. Yeah, I don't remember you from those 80 days.
Yeah.
80s or 90s. Maybe like it was late 90s.
Yeah.
And I don't remember a moment.
Me neither. I feel like I don't know. I know Zora introduced us 100%. I think you and Zora went on a trip to Pakistan. Zora came back being like, you need to meet this person. They're amazing. And then we met and our worlds just collided. And like our love romances happened at the same time. We met, like all those things happened at the same time for us. And then we became grown. And then lives changed for us. And then we stopped seeing each other. And I feel like we'll address that at some point. But my whole 20s, like every one of my photographs is like, oh my God, we went to Boston, Rishma was there. Oh my God, we did this, Rishma was there. Like not a single moment that you weren't part of it or your love story with Ali Khan wasn't a part of it. Yeah, so that's so bizarre.
So Zora was the common denominator. So that was 98 that we went to go teach in the rural areas. It was a transformational experience, and we came back. Zora and I both wound up and elevated, and wanting to affect change, right, in a way that you do in your 20s.
Yeah.
And a little bit naive, a little bit very, very passionate. And it was, as much as it was a great experience, it was also a difficult experience. And being immersed into life that, growing up with what I consider privilege now, I never saw it that way compared to what was out there. And then it was like summer of fun, we had coined it, or there was just a lot of like restaurants, going out, having fun, random things, and just experiences constantly.
Yeah.
Different people, our circles widening, shrinking, like we were so inclusive, and we would just meet everyone. And those summers were remarkable. And I met Ali Khan June 1st, 2000. So you would have been fully in my life, like as a front row seat person to that friendship, and struck a friendship of your own, and you were also developing the relationship almost at the same time. Yeah.
Yeah, it's so interesting, right? I feel like there's so much that happened. Like, you're right. Like, Zora introduced us, and then she went on to do other things, and then like TFLC happened. I feel like my first Toronto Film Festival was with you. Learning how to walk with purpose happened with you. Traveling the world and understanding that I just need a small backpack and my basic essentials, and it takes 30 seconds. And yeah, done. Again,
Or baseball cap and you're good.
yeah.
Because the hair stuff is a big issue, but we can pull off hacks. We like hacks.
And I have hair. It's just they're in boxes in a closet somewhere. Like, I don't have a problem with it. But you're right. Oh my god, baseball cap. Oh, ponytails. Like little small ponytails. Boston. Yeah. And you were just like, what I love the best about you is Rishma, like you show up and you show up 100%. People have no idea. You're like, hi, I'm here. You could go behind the scenes, or you're like, boom. But when you're there, you know you're there. There's no ifs, ands, and buts about it. And I remember as a kid, I thought that used to make me feel self-conscious. But after meeting you, I was like, oh, this is how I have to do it. You just show up and you're like, here I am, whatever, done. Like,
yeah. Well, it's funny how, like, as a mother, you know, I do have to go into the bleachers sometimes now, literally, where it's like, do not scream for me. Like, do not cheer for me, right? And I knew at a very early age that I was going to be someone who would embarrass my kids. It took a while. It took a while for them to figure it out. And I'll be the loudest cheerleader for the team. For the other kids who are my buddies, but I zip it up for my own thing.
oh,
I do not like it. And I gotta not be front row for them.
okay.
It's embarrassing for them, or it's distracting for them.
Yeah.
So it's like, hey, for everybody, it's like,
Okay.
and just respecting that, which is an adjustment, right? An adjustment.
That's so interesting because I feel like, so, you know, I think the world needs to know that, like, we were part of our life for so big time, and then life changed for both of us, right? You got married, you moved out to the suburbs. I started doing drag and became gay and gayer and doing things in life, and our lives didn't align. And, you know, I remember our friend Faisal and I had this conversation where I was like, I remember having a moment where I was like, I'm really sad about this. I can't, like, if you'd asked me in my 20s, I would have been like, of course, like, we're all going to live in a compound together. We're going to see all these things. Like, you know, we were going to actually, like, this is how I thought our lives were going to be. We were going to live in a compound, all our best friends. We're going to raise all their kids together, and that's how life was going to end up happening. So to not have, you know, kind of down the street from us, or even far merging not down the street from us, was such a, and I don't think I grieved it at that point, but now I'm like, oh, that was a grieving moment. Like, I really had to sit back and say, I have to say goodbye to these people. But Faiza had said it was only like we say goodbye to our friends in the cycles, right? So because she's so smart. It's these moments where you say, okay, we're traveling and doing different things. So for this moment in our life, and they may not look like our 20s do, and that was the majority of our 30s for us. And then we'll come back again. And I was like, I think when she first said it, I was like, you're dumb. I know what you're talking about. And then now that it's come full circle, I was like, well, yeah, that makes sense. Because if our lives don't look the same, and we're not close enough, that changes some of the things for us. But our souls didn't change at all.
Reason,
yeah,
you know, lifetime kind of thing.
Yeah.
And you could even say there's multiple lifetimes depending on what your belief system is. And so, you know, it's good to identify it like that because there was a loss. There was loss on both ends.
Agreed.
But you can't go back, right? You can't go back. And what a way to get reintegrated in each other's lives. Let's do it.
But would you expect anything else though? I was like, yeah, this makes sense. Rishma and I, first date, 16 years later, on YouTube, done. Like, of course. It couldn't be any other way. Yeah.
We're not going to prep. Like, that would just be forced and unnatural, and I don't think we've ever been forced.
No.
I don't think we've ever been unnatural with each other. We're pretty authentic people, and, you know, if wanted to turn it off right now, I'd be like, see ya, good, like, we're good. And I don't think we get offended, you know, in maybe ways that we previously would have or you know, experience now at this stage in life. You can't go back, and there is cycles. There's cycles and there's reasons.
Yes.
And I know you've held space for me in the last year. I know that. I feel it. You've held it.
Yeah.
So maybe you knew I needed you then. Maybe I didn't need you before. So thank you for that.
You're welcome. Rich, like, one of the things that, even though we didn't get to see each other, I would always hear about you through Zara or Munira. Like, there was never a moment that if I would see Zara or Munira, I wouldn't be like, oh, so what about Rishma? When Faiz and I identified that this was just a cycle in life that we had to be separate, it didn't mean that we couldn't still hear about you and know about you. And as many times we went to, like, should we reach out? We're like, okay, like, I know this, we should have just done it. I don't know why. Like, now I think back, like, if I were to send you a quick note being like, I love you, I'm thinking of you, that's all I would have had to say, and I know it would have been fine. But something in me was like, oh, the relationship doesn't look like the way I want it to look, so I can't do that. And now I'm like, duh. And I would never, like, it's not a regret, but it's a good learning thing. But yeah, and people can say just the last year was tough for you, but you've had, like, Rish, you're, like, I can only imagine how the last couple of years went with you. And sort of at the end, coming to see your kids in action, I have to say, was one of my favorite things in the world. I remember being there, and then I called Nahid right away, and I was like, Nahid, because we all sort of chatted, we're like, okay, here's the dates, here's the YouTube link, go. Like, we were all, like, ready to go when we needed to go, and even though we didn't have to, like, we knew, this is where our cycles were showing up again. And we knew we had to come and say goodbye to this soul who had changed all our lives in such a beautiful way, and, like, photographs of memories where we were, like, laughing and hugging and kissing each other, and that soul wouldn't have come into our life if it wasn't for you. Like, there was a moment in our life where we're friends with you, and then we're like, okay, but I want to be friends with Ali Khan right now while Rishma's still deciding.
You guys were team Ali Khan.
Yeah, oh my God.
And I couldn't decide. You guys were like, you're an idiot. We'll choose him. We're going to choose him. 100% we're going to go to the cottage with him. Not you figure yourself out.
Oh, good. yeah. So to be able to come back at the end with that was such a beautiful moment. And then we all got to reflect in that moment with him, right? So even, like, Faiza, Naim, and I were like, oh my God, we saw your kids in action. We're like, the first thing that went to my mind was like, of course these kids turned out like this because look who their parents were. And we got to see you and other kind in those kids in the moment. And I was like, yeah, this 100% makes sense. Even though 16 years have gone by, in an instant I was like, this,
you could identify.
I would have imagined it. Like, it took me a minute to come back to it and be like, yeah, I know this world, I know these people, I know these souls. Not a problem. And I wish, like, my younger self would have been less stupid about, like, not reaching out or not being like, even just a hello. Or even, like, I know one of my favorite moments was when Nahid and I broke up. And I think Khalil might have been one, and Khalil was tiny or just born, and Mila was, I think Mila wasn't around. And I biked over to World Partnership Walk, and the first two faces I saw were yours and Ali Khan. And, it was, I just moved out of and I had just moved out of the apartment. I felt like my life was crumbling, and all I had to see was the two of you and be like, it's going to be fine. And, like, I physically remember that moment. Even though we hadn't seen, like, I hadn't seen Khalil before, so it had been a couple years after your wedding, but it took me that 1 second to, like, bike up, see the two of you, get a hug, and be like, I'm good for the next decade. And I wish...
the core definition of family, though, where you don't see aunts and uncles or cousins for a really long time. I don't remember that vividly. It's now that you're describing it, it's a vague. I can remember a bike, I can remember you, but I don't remember it as precisely as you do. And I'm glad that moment it happened and that we were able to provide you with maybe even just a nanosecond of comfort, to know, like, you're going to be okay,
But it was a decade of comfort, because I feel like, because how Zara became Team Nahid right away. And so that I was like, wait, like, all my friends were Team Nahid, but I was like, guys, like, I need some of you to be Team Shafiq. Like, I literally had to go be like, Faiza, Mooney, like, I don't know what you're doing, but you can't be Team Nahid. If I can't be Team Salam, you can't be Team Nahid. Like, get back. And I didn't have to physically say that to her because you know how great they are. But in that moment, I was like, oh my God, like, I felt I had lost everything. And because I was doing I just started doing drag, people thought I was fine because I was in makeup, because I was you and your wedding day. Like, literally, like, your makeup on your wedding day is what I used for my first few years of inspiration. Because it was like eyelashes out to here. It was gorgeous. Like, I have a clipping. Oh, I sent that to you a couple of weeks ago. The clipping from your wedding that I keep around being like, drag inspiration. But seeing you in Ali Khan, because Nahid wasn't there and you guys didn't say anything at that point, you're just like, give me that hug. And literally, I think it took like the good decade after that, I was like, okay, I'm okay. But I wish I would have remembered that moment in times where I questioned if I could reach out to you. Right? Well, now I know. So that no matter what,
We're
whenever.
moving forward.
Yeah.
We're moving forward. Yeah. Yeah. Which is, it's healing to talk about it. So it is very, and I think it's important to talk about too. So it's not like sweep it up under the rug and then just move forward, but acknowledge it, grieve it, whatever you want to call it, and admit it. It was very difficult. I think it was difficult for us, and we didn't have our kids right away, and we waited 4 years, and which we did more traveling. But that was the idea behind waiting, and I'm so young.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, he was the old guy.
Why do I have to rush? And then you just become immersed once you do have siblings. As much as we were trying to hold on to our previous identities, which I think are still at the root core of who we are, who we were, and that's like a sense of adventure and trying new things, and that still exists with kids or without, because that's who you are, right? Like, I don't want to go to Turtle Jack's. Like, I want to go to a different restaurant. I always want to go to somewhere I haven't been, or a park I've never been, or it gets old very quickly or repetitive very quickly. Yeah.
Yeah, it's so interesting you said that. I feel like you're right. Things you don't become those people anymore, but then you become these new, and you have new beings to bring. Like, you have the responsibility to raise new beings in a more conscious way. I didn't understand it until like Faiza had Kaiman, Malik, and Salima had her baby. For me, because it was they weren't like, you guys weren't right there for me to touch or be a part of, or to see daily. And then I was like, of course, yeah. Like, I can't expect these things to happen. But you're right. At the root, nothing changed. You guys didn't change. And now that I look at your kids, those values were passed on to your kids. To see them in action, I was just like, yeah, these two beings were raised by Rishma and Ali Khan. The way they behave, like you said earlier, we were talking, and you're like, you've always been confident to walk into a space and ask for chocolate. You may go sneaky, go behind it. Like, you still have a sense of adventure and cheekiness about it, but knowing what you want and just getting it was never, and making it simple was never a thing for you. And your kids 1,000,000% emulated that. And when Mila was talking, I was peeing myself laughing at one point. I was like, yeah, this is Rishma's child.
For context, this was a celebration of life that we did for my beloved Ali's birthday after his passing. And we prepared, Mila did most of the groundwork there, where it was a video, and then there was some speaking opportunities, mostly informal, but the kids put some effort into their speeches, and so Shafik was able to be a part of that, and that's where the kids really rose and spoke from the heart, and Mila talking about Ali being her personal stylist. In fact, yesterday we went to Connie and she wore this. Ali Khan's still very much part of everything, right? Like the clothes that she wore last year or bought last year. And we bought her this, like, looks a bit Kardashian-y. And so that's why I wasn't comfortable her wearing it. And it's just an Adidas slim dress. And it has the stripe. And she wore it. It wasn't Kardashian at all. And we both felt bad. We said, oh, I wish we'd let Dad see you in it. But it looks so big and it looks so like teenagery. Yeah. She looks cute in it. And she wore it with like little white runners and socks. And it still looked kid-like and still cool.
Yeah.
And so there's a personal stylist still working his magic with her closet. Her closet is like stacked.
Okay, like how did that guy just know? Like, he has some way of like just knowing how to prep, like, to do the work now so that it just pays off for decades. Like, that is a skill. Like, I can't imagine Khan's not going to show up in every part of your life moving forward. There's no way of forgetting him for both of us. And having recently lost somebody, like losing Ma and Gulzar recently as well, this idea that no matter where we are in the world, they're still here. Like, they don't physically have to be here, but
is there like things you say or things you eat or something that might be at the table where you'd be like, oh, I don't want that, but this person wants that, or yes, I'm going to have it in their honor. And losing your aunt, wow, like that's also, I identify because I know your family well, and I know the central characters very, very well. And to me, she was an extension. Like, they love me and I love them. And when I heard that, I was devastated because it's such a crew. Like, it's part of your crew. Like, she's so influential in the way she would gure, you know, and like adore and like gush over me, and gush over you and laugh with us because we were so giggly around them.
Yeah.
But I just want to acknowledge her because she's very vivid in my memory. She's not a quiet person. Like, she was just laughing, you know? Yeah.
I'm not wearing waterproof mascara, Rich. Know better. No, like, thank you. Like, you're right. I feel like, again, she's so much of a soul of ours. Like, she was so similar to us in so many ways. And again, she was quiet but showed up 1,000%. You never missed her. I really am moving to this new space of mine. I missed her so much this couple weeks because she would be the mom who would come and set me up and like make my kitchen ready for me to go. And not having her here, or even having her close by, well, not having her here physically at all, it was really like I had moments where I was like, oh my God, I miss her so much. But then, Salima's about to have her second baby. And so we have these same conversations where Gulzar was such a big part of the roomie. And I keep saying to her, like, they wouldn't have left if they didn't think they prepared us to be able to move forward. And so that's where I'm like, okay, like, I'm doing this by myself, but I have to, because I have to trust in every soul and being of mine that they prepared us. And I think the same with Ali Khan,
Or
right?
she's
Like,
in your head. Maybe she is guiding you to be like, don't put the plate there, put the plate there. And are you able to listen to that voice and be like, sometimes it's like, is it yourself putting yourself in that person's voice, or is it genuinely in that person talking to you? Like, it's kind of sometimes both, or one or the other. But I think that's where you can be like, let her guide you, let her guide your kitchen,
I literally have this moment. So, like, literally, I've come from, like, she would love to put liners on all my kitchens. So
Yes.
I bought liners in Toronto, shipped them to Winnipeg. They haven't, like, they're still wrapped, brand new liners. And I'm like, Shafik, what are you doing? I would, like, it's not something that I would love to do for myself. I hated when she did it for me, but I brought it. And I'm like,
It's a very
yeah.
grown-up thing to have. Like, you need to put your liners in. It has long-term benefits for a lot of things in your dishes and your cabinets. So do it.
So is there anything that's Ali Khani for you that, like, you're like, I would never do that, but he did that, and now you're just
Yes.
like, it's just defaultly bringing along with you. Tell us something that's really cute about that.
Yeah, like, there's so many examples. Like, we'll be driving, or we'll be like, we'll emulate him. Like, was these rough macho guys in a car beside us, and they're like it's almost like you could come up with a line or something of Ali Khan going, wrong with those guys, or like something even deeper and funnier. He would bust out, and a lot of it came out in cars. Like, all of a sudden he was rageful. Like, all his rage was reserved for driving, like idiots. And so that will come out a lot. We're ready for it, like a comment. And so he's not there to say the comment, so we'll say the comment for him. Or be like, Daddy would hate that, or Daddy would love that, or Daddy would, Yeah. So it's interesting, that voice. That's sometimes a direct message, and sometimes it's more indirect.
That's so funny. I can't wait to get in the car with you. I feel like I want to hear those voices with you and your kids. I want to hear those voices, because that guy loved fast cars. Like, he loved to get into a car and just like zoom through. Yeah, I remember that. Like,
he's a car guy.
Yeah, really a car guy at like super fast, like at like 400. If you get a car to go, I don't know if that's even a number you could go, but like whatever the fastest was in a car, he would be like, let's test it out.
We don't know the amount of car dealerships we've been to up until, I would say, Mila. We had a different car every year. This guy was a switcher. This guy had a very, very intimate conversation with his hire guy recently. He didn't realize he had passed away, and wrote to him and said, "Hey, buddy, I'm checking on you. Hope you're still kicking cancer's butt." And it broke my heart. I don't know this man, but to know someone who's semi-regular in your life, and I to write him back and say, "It's really hard for me to tell you, but he's not here." And he broke down, and he was like, just like me, he was a car enthusiast, so they shared, commonality. And I gave him the video, and he said, the movie special is always there for you. And the way he spoke of Ali, and this was his tire guy.
Yeah, yeah.
Like it's this twice a year tire guy. I didn't end up using because I got something else worked for me, and I got some guy to come to my house and do it, and so I never thought of doing him. Not the well, you don't really interact with, right?
Yeah.
So, but the shock, and then what outpouring of love from this tire guy was just incredible. I flagged that email because it's a very beautiful email from someone I don't know, but clearly illustrates the impact he had on just people, like Tim Hortons ladies, the waiters, waiters, like the way somehow people were really attracted to him in that everyday space, in a store, in a lineup, that certain cashiers that always liked him, like would be like, oh, how are you? And it wasn't like he would be so chatty. There was just an energy that he brought, and how he would say thank you, and how he would make a joke, or he did it all the time in hospital setting, in very inappropriate situations where he would be like, I don't have good socks on. Like, I can't lie down. If you told me this procedure was happening, I would have dressed better for it. And then, like, the whole room would be like laughing. Like, nurses are all like, Nellie comes like, oh, so can you go downstairs and get a tray? I need my kids. This doesn't work for me. But just, those everyday interactions with people were very meaningful. He was just so, in a quiet, just someone that was adored.
Yeah. You know how he knew. I feel like he made dad jokes cool. He told the dad jokes, but he knew how to do it in a way that you're like, oh my god, you're fantastic. Which is also like, people loved him so much. Which is why we were all like, Rishma, why aren't you dating him? Remember, like 4 years, we were like, hello. I think like this is why we're all Team Ali Khan for so long. Where like we all got to see that within days, and then we're like, why is she putting so hard to get?
Yeah, what a fool I was. But also, like, one thing that we acknowledged was there was drama before, but there wasn't any. There wasn't any in the marriage then, right? Because we were kind of like in it, and probably that was the fear, where it was like, if I do this, this is it. Like, this is not like a joke here. This is like going to be my life. And so there was, obviously hesitation and unfairness on my end. But then up until last summer, when Ali Khan really got sick, it wasn't a drama. So it was kind of good that it was handled when you were around, and able to be his. He deserved a big team, Ali Khan. He really did.
Yeah,
he did. I was in the wrong.
No, but I think like that drama taught all of us to not bring the drama into our relationship. So I think like, lucky all of us that we got to be a part of this, because we got to see like when you love someone, and like this is how you fight for it. And like, he was so intuitive about his love with you. He knew you were the woman for him no matter what, and he fought for it. Like, no matter what you said, where you did, how much you pushed, he's like, that's the woman I'm gonna marry. And that I was like, wow. And I think also to see how you were like, right, here's all my drama. And like, we were so similar. I'm like, here's me, 1,000,000%. Let's see if you can handle it. And then he was like, okay, I can handle it. And that slowly broke you down as well. Be like, oh, this guy isn't joking anymore. So I think like, even though there's nothing to apologize about, I think like what you guys went through was a learning lesson for all of us. And if you look at all our friends who came out of the clique, or we hung out with you guys, like came out, all the relationships look amazing. Like, you helped elevate our relationships, because we no longer we were like, I'm not gonna put up with this drama. If Ali Khan Rishma can do it, I can do it. Then like Faiza did it. Like, I think we all let go of relationships that weren't working for us, because we're like, that's what we want.
Yeah.
And here's how much work it's going to take, but it's going to be worth it. Yeah. It was so real.
Oh, that's so beautiful. That's so beautiful. And it's true. It's 100% true. So thanks for capturing that so well.
No, I mean, like I was, again, I feel like 60, I can't believe it took us this year, but I'm so glad like it's given us a chance to reflect back and see all the great things of it, and not be caught up in like, at least for me, whatever would have been like the sadness or the bitterness of it. And I'm like, oh, here's all the great stuff that came out of it. Not that I think we would do that, but
we've had real problems, right? So like, it's also your perspective grows and changes as your life experiences do. And our lives were smaller and having not gone through hardship on both ends, then maybe you get a little gutted or stuck in that. As your life expands and you allow people in and you have hardship, it yes, it's significant, but you got to put it into context, right? And so I think we're mature enough now to be able to have that context to be like, we don't need 7 hours of feeling over this. Like, we're okay.
We're good.
7 minutes was good. Yeah, 7 minutes was good. Yeah.
Okay, so as the innovator shaker of the world, what is next? So I love that we got to honor Alicante in this way. It's so great. I want to know what's next for Rishma, like, because I feel like now this has got to open up a whole, like, a different realm for you. And like, watch out, people. I can't, like, if TFLC was like a mini beginning of things, like, I don't know what's coming. Like, well, sushi and samosas is coming, but what is
Yes.
next for Rishma Govani?
So it's funny because I read about a couple and they were starting to explore restaurants in the city, and I was like kind of rolling my eyes going, well, now they're around. They weren't even around. We had to go in dingy like alleyways and like find these like secret Somalian restaurants, and now they're more readily available. So good on you, but also felt like it's fun.
Yeah, well, so let's start. Let's talk about TFLC. So TFLC was a restaurant program that we met every month. Rishma would find like the gems in the city that we would have never seen. So this is the late 90s, early 2000s.
Yeah.
So veganism wasn't a thing. Nobody knew what gluten was. We had our friend Zora who was gluten and all those things, like so ahead of the curve. And you had a monthly food club where we would come together, bound by food and love, and we would go to, like, you're right, all these individual ethnic restaurants in the city. And that was your creation.
It was a wonderful meeting point, and still rings true. Sadly, in some way, because progress is slow in terms of diversity of what's a non-threatening way for me to get to know you. And if we meet over Ethiopian food, which is a little scary to some people, my favorite food, it's scary. It looks different. It's not something you're exposed to. There's not so many of them. There are now, but also more in the downtown cores of major cities, right? So I think that its root was getting to know other people. And I remember owners of restaurants who would do education, but would put in such a subtle way, and we would learn about it. Learn a little bit about their country, how they got here. And it wasn't like in an interview style. Those were just as they're bringing you your meals. And that evolved. And many, many years ago, 8 or 9 years ago, I wrote the book version of TFLC, which is about kids not wanting to try food. They're all about nuggets and fries, and the parents are foodies, and like, their ears going, try this sushi roll, try this Greek food, try this paella. And so now it's called Sushi and Samosas. It's going to be published in the next couple of weeks. In fact, a good promo for that. But there are projects like that, and there are so many that were put on the shelf. And that one was put on the shelf pre my husband's illness. Because I have little kids and I dropped the book around, and I was getting a lot of interest, a lot of feedback from major publishers, all of them saying they weren't looking for something like that. Fast forward to 2021. What do you mean you're not looking for a diverse kids book? Like, there's entire sections at major book outlets like Indigo that have diverse books. You wouldn't see that 10 years ago. So it was put on the shelf, and it was one of many projects that I have promised time I will bring to life again. And they're coming to life. And some of them are easy because they were already thought out. They were already done. They just didn't come to fruition. And like we've talked about there is timing and divine timing and a lot of that. So I think there's a lot that's going to be, that's sitting on the shelf ready to be out there. I think of politics a lot. I think in the last municipal election, fun fact, I put my name down for a school board trustee. I didn't clear it with work, so I withdrew. But I didn't withdraw in time for my name not to be on the ballot.
Okay, nice.
I didn't tell a soul. My parents didn't know. Election time comes, and I think there was 12 of us in the ballot. And I don't know if it's because my name fell somewhere, probably in the middle with last name G that I used. So I don't know if it was optics, but I went home with 300 votes. Okay.
Yeah, of course. Hello.
Did not place last. In fact, people who campaigned and had websites and signs came behind me. I have people at our mosque who say, "Oh, I voted for you." I burst out laughing because I'm like, "You're not even supposed to know about that. That's not even a thing." I didn't tell anyone that my name was on the ballot. I wasn't allowed to do it. There was a conflict of interest at work. And it was seriously like, how much am I taking on? Like, it's a little bit ridiculous.
Yeah.
But I felt really good not being dead last. I think I was 8. And it's, solid 300 votes. Municipal, especially school board trustee. Not a lot of people vote for that anyway. So it's not like we're talking thousands of other, and it made me feel like I just needed to hustle a little bit. Put up a website and put some songs that like have a social media, following and get all my kids, friends, and neighbors to go door to door. And I'm thinking it, maybe.
I want in on that. I want to build a website. I want to help with the campaign. I want to Govani-ize this campaign. So if you're going to do it federally, this is your design company, just so we're clear. I'm teaming up now. When you're ready, I'm ready.
That's all I'm ready. Yeah, one day. I mean, all of those things I feel like I still, so here's my my list or whatever. So all those things are starting to unravel and happen. And when someone you love, your partner, is ill, right? Like, he was the priority. And I was working full time, and he was so good about his illness because he was able to manage it on his own, because he was like, I'm not working, I can take care of this stuff. And which allowed me to do a lot. And we still were very committed to traveling and our kids and making sure that they got, the best of us and not overdoing it. But there were a lot of things that were on the shelf. And so I think one by one, as time allows and some interests change and passions change, I think diversity has always been there. And that's rooted in, and definitely in strong roots in PFLC. And, children's advocacy, rights of the kids are things that I've always been interested in. And now with schools and my son starting high school, it's interesting to me. I like politics, I like health, and I like education. So those are the 3 streams that have always attracted me. So it's like, what do I want to do with that? And as I'm getting older too, I still value fun and value relaxation and all of those things. So I don't want to overdo the other stuff.
Yeah. Oh my God, I can't feel so our time's up, which is crazy and not crazy. Of course it is up, because I feel like we still have a zillion things to talk about. So should we meet up in the end of the summer and catch up again? Because I feel like we have to.
So are you doing 42 of these? Or no?
So initially, the whole idea was, I think so, something you said earlier was this, things were put on hold because of health and putting my time up for other people. So 42 was one of them. So my goal was to do 42 episodes, 42 minutes at the age of 42 with people who are 42. But I didn't start till I was 43 because timing. And so now I'm going to hit to 100 episodes. That's my goal.
Wow.
And for the first time in my life, it's not about usually, I'm such a marketer and planner. I'm this is how it needs to go. This is what it needs to look like. I'm just going to let it form into itself. It becomes what it wants to. And let's see what it comes out. And I feel like 100 will give me an idea of how to take it forward if I want to take it forward. And it's been a great timing because I'm in Winnipeg. I get to connect with people I haven't seen in forever. The pandemic allowed for it. So we'll see where it goes. But yeah, no, I feel like, Rish, we have to do an early fall episode to sort of see where things are.
Sure.
And I want to see where, I think you should come to Winnipeg to do a sushi and samosas tour.
I actually have really good colleagues, one of which I was going to introduce you to, and then she moved away because she was perfect for you. And would love to do a fall work trip to Winnipeg.
Oh my God. Yeah, done.
And then there went before and absolutely loved it. And maybe we can go to like a dead game or something. You're there for a bit?
Yeah, I've committed to stay here for the next 5 years. Again, I think
Whoa.
I need space from Toronto for my own healing, from the people I love. We're all in the same silos, and we're all adults, so I can leave. Like you've got kids, you have to manage. So
Yeah.
I'm leaving. I'm like, you guys can like you're all over 30. It's like our youngest person is 30. We're all adults. They can do
And
what they
it's
need
a
to.
1 hour flight. Like it's so close. Like we never consider Winnipeg. Like it's not that far. So I'm definitely coming. I'm coming 100%. I'm coming in the fall. We're doing this in live.
Would you like a Boston girls trip again? Like get all the girls from Boston and see if we can all come in and see if anything's changed at all.
So Tess is a long haul.
All right, fine.
Not that she would be opposed to it.
And if
it was Liza, Zora. Well, Zora has a long haul. And who else was with us?
You, me, and I think there's five. So 5 of us, and then Rizwan.
Yes.
I feel like Anjum was Anjum a part of it or no? I don't. Like, I feel like Anjum. No, right? So there's 5 of us.
Like outside of it. Yeah.
I'm like the Boston. I'm like the pillars in the Boston. We filled them in. I'm like there was 5 of us and Rizwan.
It was fantastic.
Yeah, you're right. I don't know. Maybe this time in our lives we can circle back with all of us, since we're all around the world, and 5 is potentially going to be somewhere else as well.
All 5 would be in different cities. So, okay, I'm holding you to that.
Yeah, 100%.
Super proud of you. I've been listening. I've listened to so many, and I love uncovering who you are, things I don't know about, things I didn't know about. And I think, you know, as much as I asked how Shafik, I think your friends also were very protective of you and held, you know, space for you. And so really interesting hearing about you, getting to know you. I have a little fancy thing I put in the bath. Like, you know, it has like a book, you know, one of those, like, I've always wanted one. I finally got the courage to order one from Amazon. So I put my book and I put my phone, and often I've listened to your podcast. And when the kids have walked in on me, they're like, "You're so fancy. You're like one of those rich people who has like electronics in the bath." And I'm like, "Yeah, because it doesn't fall over anymore." And you have been lucky recipient of that moment. At least 3 times I've listened to you in the bath.
Like I said, when you show us, you show like 100%. I love, and you know, I think I love what you said in the beginning. You're like, we're family. You know, we didn't. Yeah. I don't think we recognized or we allowed ourselves to say that earlier. But we're family. We love each other, and we're like
distant cousins that don't like. Yeah. You're not at that every family gathering. You're at the like family gathering that happens at a picnic maybe every few years. You know.
Yeah, but you know exactly who to go to as soon as you get there. You're like, that's my person. I'm going straight to them. Nobody else matters in that family.
Right. Yeah, absolute pleasure. Are we doing rapid fire or we're saving?
Yeah, let's. Oh my God, no. You know the one? Yeah, no. I have the one thing I was going to ask. Like, are your kids going to be doing Duffly Valley as a variety show? Do they even like?
No, they're not.
Okay, well, I feel like that's a. Stay tuned for our next episode where we talk about why Rishma had that reaction to Duffly Valley.
Yeah, but me and you, or me and my bro, yeah, life. No. For Jen, too cool for school. Yeah.
I'm so fascinated about them because I feel like there's so much you guys, but still they're cool. They're teenagers, like they're kids who are like, yeah. Mom and dad. No,
absolutely not. And they have, you know, the very best of dad, and probably not so best of their dad, and not so best of me, and the best of me. And then they have themselves, right? Like themselves. They're like not just our children, they're their own people. So it's fascinating to see that development and unfolding.
Well, let's table those. I'm so fascinated about them as humans. I want to know everything about them because I feel like I want to see, one, because we learned so much about how you guys' relationship and how we can make our relationships better. But how did you parent so that we can parent our kids better? I mean, right. I don't think I'm going to have any buts. I would love to know either way. I think the world needs to know. Yeah. All right. So rapid fire. So you know the drill. Throw one word back.
You throw it back. I'm a follower. I follow you.
I mean, you asked for it. Which is one of my things where I was like, I think Rishma might just take over. I mean, be careful. All right, ready? Okay. Khalil.
Hilarious.
Mila.
Teenager. On her phone all the time. Hit earbud in all the time. Talker.
TFLC.
Fun. Unity.
Ali Khan.
Oh, the best. Just the best.
Sushi and Samosa.
Can't wait. So excited. So excited. Okay.
And 2022.
Astrologer says a lot's going to happen that year. I like this energy of the numbers and I guess open.
By astrologer, do you mean our friend Zara Haji?
No. To hook up through her.
Of course, yeah.
Of course. She's at the root of it.
Yeah. I want to thank everybody who took time out of their busy schedule to tune in with Rishma and I. And when we do it again, we'll see you guys soon. Have a great day. Oh, happy Canada Day.
Happy Canada Day.
Bye, bitches.
Bye.